At this point, I imagine you all are probably tired of listening to my voice. However, I can say I'm very excited. This is the first video I'm recording for you all where I'm actually sitting in Tucson. So yay! Um, okay, so cool stuff for this week, or at least I'm hoping cool stuff that you all will think about. In terms of designing and development strategy, I want to talk about archiving, reflecting in course portfolios. Thanks to Sean and Devin, I now understand that um, the writing courses require a final like a final exam, and that a lot of instructors either do a genre remix of a paper, a multimedia remix of a paper, or some type of course portfolio. I'm a big course portfolio fan, not that I don't like genre and multimedia remixes. I think I usually do those as big projects. But what is fun about course portfolios and online courses is that all of your student work is in some format that they can save. It can be captured and saved or archived. So if you do a portfolio, consider having your students archive everything in one space. I'm a big fan of blogs, and you can, if you're teaching in a learning management system like Desire to Learn, you can use discussion forums as blogs. I also use Google folders in the same way. Please note, though, that this cannot work with materials that are submitted through Dropboxes in the LMSs. So to just give you a quick glance of what that looks like. Nope, that's not the glance of what I wanted. Oh, here we go. Yes. So here is a blog environment where all of the students' work is generated in one space, easy to look at, but it's also easy archived for both her and me in terms of just finding it, grading it, and then also for a portfolio at the end of the semester. Also, if you're doing this, though, you'll want to make sure students are reflecting regularly, ideally connecting back to their course objectives or outcomes. But what happens is if you have them doing something like this in a blog or in a course discussion board, that the reflections usually occur because you have them posting where they're saying what they did, why they did it that way, and then where it is with a link to, if it's somewhere outside of the regular course environment, they can just link to it in that space, but the blog or the discussion forum brings all the work together. And then with all those reflections done throughout the class, at the end of the semester, they just need to synthesize their reflections for the final course portfolio. In terms of applications, I love timelines. The only thing I think I love more than timelines is mind mapping, and we've already talked about mind mapping. So these are some of my favorite timeline apps. I am very, very sad, and this is typical with any app on the web. It looks like TimeRhyme has died, or they're updating their servers today. And what makes me sad about that is I can't share with you an example of a timeline that I did with a literature class. So I'm hoping the lit folks are really excited. So with timelines, I taught early American literature once a year for the community college, and I would have them do collaborative timelines, so all the students were in the same timeline, and it would cover eras, literary eras, and students would post things about authors, major events in the day, publications, and so what would happen is over time there would just be this growth of nodes in the timeline that would help the students see the bigger picture of that literary era. Now, similarly, if you're teaching a research class, students can use a timeline for their own process, their research process and reflection of it. They can also use timelines to analyze secondary sources and or primary data, so like put in secondary sources based on when they were published or when their work was. I just want to show you, just want to show you what a timeline could look like. So this particular timeline is actually my CV, and notice that the nodes can include, oops, that image is broken, so it means wherever it came from. They can include links, they can be different sizes, and you can move further down the timeline. There we go, there's an image. And what you ask students to include in these nodes is completely up to you. So, for example, if you want students to, say, do an annotated bibliography as a timeline, or if it's the literary one, you want them in either case to cite their sources. There's nothing that says that, the end of the node can't include a bibliographic citation. It may not be able to do a hanging indent. It may not even be able to do italics, but if they include everything else, I don't know about you, but I'd be pretty happy. So timelines, big fan of the timelines. They can do some cool stuff. Online teaching and learning tip. Sorry to say that you all will have to really think about grading and rubrics in a way that you may not have in the past. Specifically, the Quality Matters rubric for designing online courses and U of A's adaptation of it says that there needs to be specific and descriptive criteria provided for the evaluation of student work and participation in the course. This means for just about any assignment that is not low stakes, meaning it's not just a check that they did it, you need to somehow document how you will assess that work. For example, there are many discussion board rubrics available for you to borrow. I provided a link here to RubyStar. What's cool about RubyStar is it helps you create rubrics, but if you search for them, you can find tons of examples. So discussion board, search, and there are hundreds, 669. So lots of discussion board. I'm not saying they're all necessarily great, but they are rubrics and they're helpful. They're example rubrics. I did want to say, though, I'm a big fan of a checklist as rubric. And I'm sure you're going like, Shelly, what does that mean? So I'm going to show you a handful of examples. And if you want access to these examples, these links, and some of them are behind a password, just email me and I'll happily give them to you. But what I mean is, we go down to the bottom of this prompt here. I have a checklist that's saying like, okay, to earn a C, the students must do everything in this list. And to earn a B, they must do this other stuff. And they can't earn a B unless they did everything in the C. And then to earn an A. And so what I like about it is that C is average, but C also in terms of writing, this is the rhetorical situation. If you don't meet the core assignment, then obviously you can't get a passing grade, a C. But also it means then that we can talk about B and A being higher, more complex, more sophisticated work. And what you'll find if you look at these examples, that they start to look the same in the A zone, because a lot of it is about just crisp, clear, coherent writing. And let's scroll down to the bottom here. A zone, again, titles, good sentences. A zone, again, let's make that bigger. Titles, no typographical errors. What's also nice about this, though, I do use these for multimedia assignments as well, and so I'll have things like getting them to talk about design, including images and including citations for images. That's another one. Let's see here. And also I'll build in reflection elements. So all that to say, rubrics, you will need them. And unless you are an amazing teacher, which I'm sure some of you are, I find that most of us struggle with making rubrics. They're very difficult. So this will be something that online teaching and learning will probably get you starting to do, and as you continue to do it, you'll get better at designing rubrics. The last thing I just wanted to end on was the open content. This time I was sharing RLOs, reusable learning objects, and other multimedia. And I just want to remind you, on the one hand, it's great because the content's built, but on the other hand, in most cases, you need wraparound instruction telling students what to do with it, how to make meaning from it. So I gave you a link to lists of RLOs, but for example, here's Merlot. It's actually a very famous RLO, and I searched for rhetoric, and we have stuff here. And one of the links, I actually like the Forest of Rhetoric as a website. It's a pretty cool website. Let's see, will it get me there? Um, but as you can see, it is just a lot of text and there's a lot of content here. And obviously you wouldn't want to send a student here without telling them exactly what you want them to do, what exactly you want them to read, and then what you want them to do with the content. Similarly, Library of Congress has a lot of amazing stuff. Again, I searched by rhetoric, and look over here, original formats, books, web pages, manuscripts, material, films, video. It doesn't necessarily mean you have access to it all through the web, but again, lots of potential texts that you might use in your class, but you will have to carefully integrate them within the course material. I think that's it for this week. I appreciate you all listening to these and hopefully picking up some tips, and I hope to see a lot of you on Tuesday.